So the last video shows the start of my shop front remodel. I've been wanting to do this for a long time because even a week after I made the thing, I realized I shouldn't have put a walk door in the front. I need wall and inside, not doors. So I took off the rolling doors. I took down the old unistrut that the doors were rolling on, and I put a new header. It's a 2x6 instead of a 2x4, and this will allow me to get the track further away from the siding. So the old 2x4 header was just cantilevered out, and it was not weak. I mean, it held up for over 20 years, but it wasn't real strong. So now that I'm putting a 2x6 header, I added some more supports. I'm putting a block on every rafter going straight down to support that 2x6 so it can't deflect downward. Now the sliding doors are far from finished, but I wanted to get them back up just for convenience. It's hard to walk around the building every time I needed to come and go. And of course I put the tracks on the wrong side, which had me scratching my head for a little bit. And got the track up, got the door going into it, and my plywood is real warped, and I'm trying to save it. And you might be thinking, you know, why don't you just get a new sheet of plywood? It's not that much money. The problem is the new sheets are just as bendy when they dry out. So I'm going to try to save this. It's all cut to fit. And then we had some rainy weather, so I couldn't work outside, but I needed to move the plywood rack that I made quite a few videos ago. And right here is where I put a hitch in my back that caused me great pain in the coming weeks, but we don't need to go into that. So I got the door hung temporarily. I did some demolition, took out the old two windows which were too tall, and you couldn't put like a workbench under them, and they were always full of cobwebs because I couldn't get to them to clean them. So I reframed those two holes, and the new holes in the sliding doors, and these two, and this one over here, they're all the same height, so it should look okay from the outside. To be kind of a contemporary look, which is not my thing, but for practical reasons, that's what we're going to do. Then I ripped out this door, which has been sealed shut for a long time, and framed in the bottom of it. And then we are ready to put some trim on the plywood doors to try to get the bow out of them, so I can put the siding on it, etc., etc. So now we have it all framed up. The holes are covered with some junk plywood just to keep the boogeyman out, and it's time to go to work. So I'm going to start scratching my head on making the window jamb, or the window frame. Now the way the doors were before, if I made a frame, it had to stick out, completely out, which is this way. You couldn't stick in, or the door would have hung up on the window or hung up on everything on the wall, because this was almost flush with the wall. But now I'm replacing that 2x4 up there with a 2x6. So I'm going to have an extra 2 inches plus. So now the jamb can stick into and out as far as I want it. And that's just going to make an easier window frame to build, and stronger, and just look better. So I got this one piece of cypress here at home. I don't have any more. I'm going to dress this down and start cutting it up, and we're going to make 2 matching window frames. And I can match the width, but the height is I'm probably have to fill this, because I don't think the height will match with the glass that I have access to. So I came to the foundry and grabbed a few more pieces of cypress for trim, and unfortunately they're wet. My tarp is not 100%. It's been pretty dry, so I don't know if this is just water on the surface or if they're damp all the way through. If they're damp all the way through, they're going to shrink a lot. It's going to be an issue. But anyway, I'll go home and plane the surface and see what they look like on the inside. So I ran all the bores through the planer, got them all down to 1 inch. And some of them are indeed wet. It wasn't just surface wet, they're wet all the way through. But some of them are very dry, so I should have enough boards to work with for quite a while. We'll put these to the side, stick them, and let them get some drying time before I incorporate them into the window. So even though I don't know what I'm going to do on the outside of these doors, and I don't know how big the window's going to be, I can start putting the trims back on and kind of straightening the plywood back out. That one's got a little whop to it. And before, with the track so close to the framing, the trim had to be really thin so it wouldn't hit right here. But now, with my extra few inches, I can use like I can use a more beefy piece of trim and make the doors a lot stronger. And actually, there's no reason that this trim has to go past this 2x. It could be the stop, I think. I don't know. And I'm gonna rip what's left of this trim and what's left of this trim off, and I'm gonna glue on a new piece, and it'll be forever. And now make sure that this edge is straight before I glue it. I'm gonna have to clamp like a 2x4 or something to it to give it some help. So my first piece of trim is clamped to the inside of this door, and it's not strong enough to pull the warp out. Still have a bow, which I don't want to glue this bow into it, I want this to be straight before I glue this board on here. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put this 1x6 right here and screw it from the outside. See if that won't get the bow out. And if the bow is out, then if I glue and clamp this, it'll probably be good when it dries. If not, I'm probably gonna have another piece of trim here to catch the end of whatever kind of exterior siding I put on here. I don't really know what I'm gonna put yet. Now, we are straight as the proverbial arrow, top to bottom. All it took was a temporary 1x5 and 1x6 just screwed and clamped on there. So now I'm going to unclamp this, I think I'm going to caulk it and not glue it because the surface is so nasty, and clamp it back and put a whole bunch of screws in it. And tomorrow, when I take this off, this should stay. If not, when I put the next trim on there, I can get it a little better, but I think it's going to be good. I'm not gonna be able to really lock my shop up tonight, but we'll just cross our fingers. It'll probably be raining, so maybe the boogeyman won't be out roaming around. Okay, I put on my second brace this morning, and this one's put on with caulk because the plywood was so mangled on the back, as was the first one. But this is the third one, and I just used regular glue on it because the plywood was in good condition and dry. And now this one, it was a little different. The plywood was twisted, so this battery and this clamp is holding it out. And this jug of, is pushing it in to get the twist out. And then the 1x6 is getting the bow out. This one didn't have so much bow, it was easy. And now I got it all clamped, and I'm gonna put some screws in it, but I am gonna leave those clamps for a while since it's glue and not caulk. And the middle bumper that I said I was putting on for permanent, of course I had to take it off to get the door to slide this far over. And it is a lot of work to get this twisty plywood straight, but even if I'd have bought new plywood, I'd be doing the same thing because this treated plywood is just terribly twisty. So yeah, maybe it took a little longer dealing with this old raggedy plywood, but it's not rotten, and it's like 45 bucks a sheet. So yeah, I'm doing what I need to do, I think. Yeah, in a couple hours, I'll slide all this over, take the clamps off, and we'll do the last edge. And I'm getting ready to start on the windows. Okay, I removed the bottom clamp from the 1x6, but before I did, I put 2 screws so it won't move. And I have put screws every 4 inches all the way up here. So I'm gonna take all these clamps off. I'm gonna drop the window in like I did this one and put a couple screws from the back so that I can shut up my shop for the night. Keep the boogeyman out. So this morning I took off the 1x6 temporary that I had on the inside, and it did bow back up a little bit. It's not too bad, but we'll keep addressing that. The next time I put a piece of trim on, I may over straighten it, not just straighten it from the back, but put the curve the other way and then screw the trim on. Anyway, I'm gonna do the same thing I did here on this one. Okay, this door, the right door, is behaving super well. It is flat. I put this board down here, which guides it, which will guide it when I put something to rub on. The window's all in, and it is, let's see, when it's open, it's parallel with the jamb all the way. Now keep in mind, I don't have any guides yet, but it will be parallel with the guides. So this one's lovely. This one had a bad twist in it. So I screwed the board top and bottom, put a wedge, and the twist came right out. Well, what happened was, now put a bow in it. See how far it is at the bottom and at the top. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take that board back out, or at least I'll take the wedge back out. It's a little frustrating. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it right. So because the bottom of these doors are soaking wet because we had 4 days straight of rain, I'm not going to do anything else until they dry out a little bit. The sun's going to hit on them every morning, and we'll see what shape they become. I'm kind of thinking it's going to get worse because they're going to be they're wet on the outside and they're going to dry and they're going to shrink, but I don't really know. Well, I referred back to my drawings and I measured what we got, and I determined the new windows are going to be 2 feet tall. That's roughly what the top half of these windows are. It's a little smaller than the windows that were in the door, with the sliding door, and it's a little bigger than the windows that were in the walk door. So 24 inches is the magic number, and there's no reason that I can't completely build the 2 for the sliding door. Put them in there, that'd be nice. I'm ready to build a wooden frame for my last 2 windows. Now the thickness or the width of the jamb is the width of the wall, and in this case it's 4 7/8, same as the door over there. So there's 2 of them, they're the same. So the first thing I'm going to cut is the top piece. So it's going to be 4 7/8. I'm going to make it 32, give myself a little wiggle room. So I need 2 pieces, 4 7/8 by 32, and all my stock is 1 inch thick. So my side pieces are going to be sloped on the bottom and square on the top, and they're going to go between the top and the bottom. So if I make them 22 to the long point, then the overall thickness here is like 24 overall height. And the hole over there in the wall is 24.5, so that's perfect. Give me a little playroom. So I'm gonna cut the sides. They gotta be the 4 7/8, and they have to be 22 to the long point of a 7.5 degree slope for them. So the bottom part of the frame is wider than the top, and that's because if I put a 3-inch piece of trim on both sides, I want the bottom to come out to the end of the trim, or the side of the trim, and it just so happens it's 4 5/8 longer than the top. So I got my 2 pieces cut. I'm gonna have to rip them because they're too wide. Let me show you what I mean. See, the bottom part of the window comes out past the trim, so it needs to be wider than the top, which fits into the hole. This fits on the outside, and it'll be notched to fit in the hole. So building these window frames, I didn't use any fancy joinery, any like half lap joints or anything. They're small, they're beefy. All the stock is a full 1 inch. It's going to have beefy trim, and it's going to be nailed to plywood, so it's going to be plenty strong enough. The only thing that I would be a little bit concerned about is the window sill. The bottom part slopes up, and on the high part it's basically hanging from the gun nails, which is not real good. Nobody can get up there to step on it or anything, but it's still not good. So I'll slide a couple of little wedges under it after it's installed to make sure the bottom can't slip down, and they're going to be like herpes. They're going to be forever. This is how I measure the stool. This is the center line of this. This is the center line of the stool. Mark them, put them together. That gives me a line right here, and on the other end I have to measure the top because the bottoms are floppy. There's nothing holding them down. And then I do go to the bottom. You see that? And I do go to the bottom and get this mark. So I need to remove this square on both ends, and then I can nail them together. I'm going to do that on the band. So I'm holding the window stool up at the 7.5 degree slope it's going to be on. So this cut line will be parallel with the, will be plumb. And, you know, I didn't measure anything, but it's pretty close. It's close enough for intended purposes. So now we're putting the trim on the outside face of the window frames. The side pieces are cut square to top, and they have that 7.5 degree bevel on the bottom. And I did use glue, try to keep some of the moisture from wicking past this corner here. And then after you get two sides on, you measure the top and cut it to length and shoot it on there. These are 2 1/4 inch gun nails. They're pretty substantial as far as gun nails go. And then I ripped a bunch of 1/2 by 3/4. This will be the window stop. And the windows in the sliding doors are not as deep as the windows in the wood frame walls. So on the sliding door window frames, I put the stop all the way to the back, and then when I did the other window frames, I measured that same distance. So the windows looking from the outside will be the same depth from the face of the window frame. If it makes any difference, I don't know, but I did that. And if I'd have had more discipline while I had the window frames laying on the tables, I would have cut all the other trim too, the trim that's going to go on the outside of the glass. But I didn't. So now once I get it up and installed and the glass in, I'll have to go out and measure each one of these pieces one at a time. Won't be the end of the world, just be a little less efficient. So I stuck my windows in the hole, and I put some screws from the back, and I closed the door, and I made sure that they were level with each other, because that would probably show. So they're level with each other and they're level. Screwed them from the back, and then I had this cavity to fill. So I'll put a splice on the back, and I'm going to drop in a piece on the front, and then cut all these screws off because they're sticking out. And look at that, the sun is shining for the first time in 4 days. Man, we've had a lot of rain. Everything was wet, soaking wet. My shop's wet, all my tools get rusty. Not from leaking rain, just from the humidity. Okay, so I'm gonna patch those 2 holes, and this door still has a twist in it, so I gotta deal with that before I do the final trim. We're all windowed up. Got a coat of paint on them. It's just exterior latex. It's flat. I don't have a clue where it came from, but it'll make a good prime coat. Then we'll have to caulk and spackle and put a finish coat. I hope the boss doesn't make me change the color of the whole garage. And then I can put the glass in. And now that I have a stop on this end, which we're gonna keep the same one, I just gotta fix the bottom. And I have a stop here. I can put the permanent siding on the wall, which I think is gonna be that cement board stuff, because it's pretty good stuff, even though it's nasty to work with. And I will take all this siding and try to make cover for these doors. I want to make a sun pattern, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. So when David bought his house in Hammond, it had this glass in the old shed in the back, and I'm pretty sure it's just shower doors that were on the bathtubs. And then the shed fell down and broke a bunch of them. But I'm gonna try to, and I don't know why I'm doing this, I'm gonna try to use this glass in the windows. And it's not gonna be big enough, so I'm gonna have to attach glass to glass. My plan is to get some lead, I don't know what you call this, the stained glass people use it. Now, this is not big enough profile. It won't, the glass is too thick. But I'm gonna get the right profile, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put one big piece in the middle, and then a little tall, skinny piece on each edge of each wooden window frame. See how it goes. So I've successfully cut my first piece, and I'm getting ready to cut my second piece. And the second piece has a deal in it that I can't get around, so it's just gonna be there. And the second piece doesn't have a square end. Both ends are curved. I don't know if they broke like that or if they were cut like that. I think they were I don't really know. Anyway, when we built our house, Debbie did a lot of leaded glass, so luckily I have access to a really good glass cutter and some good glass nippers, which are curved on the end, so they help break the glass. So I'm gonna cut on this line, get a square end, and then turn it around and cut the other end. So I have cut glass before. I've never been really good at it. Old glass is harder to cut than new glass because it has little microscopic scratches in it, and they affect you, the scratch that you make with the cutter. And everybody knows my hands shake terribly. I actually got on some medicine for a while that kind of helped out a lot, but it seemed to make me glued to the sofa. So we ditched those pills, and I'm back to shaking. So this is not easy for me to do. And I wasn't sure if I should use the pliers to snap the glasses. This glass is a full 1/4 inch thick. Or if I should try to break it over the edge. And my work table, the edge is kind of beat up, so it's not real consistent. So I was thinking that I probably shouldn't try to break it over the edge. However, the last few pieces that I did, I broke over the edge and they worked really good. So I made it harder on myself by trying to use these pliers. I think these pliers would snap glass if the glass was a little shorter or maybe not so thick. These are what my wife uses these when she does her stained glass work. But anyway, I didn't waste any glass. I got some jagged edges instead of some smooth edges. But the wood trim will cover that, and they all have a good factory edge where they need to meet in the middle. Because the lead joint, it's not very deep, so you got to get your fits pretty accurate. So anyway, I played around here, and I got better as I went, but I'm still not good at it, and I probably never will be. And who knows if I'll ever cut glass again. I don't know. My father-in-law, an engineer obviously, had a favorite quote, and he used to say that a mark of a man's intelligence is how he learns from his mistakes. But in this instance, apparently I don't have intelligence because I just kept trying to do the same thing and I kept getting the same results pretty consistently. Now later on, after a while, Debbie came in and of course I don't have any video, but if she would put her palms on the glass on the table and keep it from moving, then I was able to break it over the edge. And I didn't have any failures like that. So actually I didn't have any failures. I was able to use all the glass, but some of it has a nice straight edge, and some of it looks like somebody chewed it off with their teeth, which is kind of what I'm doing with these little pliers. Nothing went in the trash because all of these rough cuts could go at the top or the bottom where they're hidden by the wood stop. And I just needed a good factory edge on the edges where I butted the little pieces of glass up to it. So I guess I got lucky. So on my last few cuts, I ended up scratching both sides of the glass, which I think is a no-no, but I was desperate to try to get a straight cut. And yeah, it worked. It worked that and breaking it over the edge, and I got 3 or 4 breaks in a row that came out pretty well.
It really is helpful to establish some sort of basic respect, a basic emotional connection of like, I'm respecting your perspective, and I have actual humility to be listening to you. And
Getting better. Getting better.
I'm open to persuasion in this conversation as well. Because if you signal really early in the conversation that you're not open to changing their mind, you're asking a lot for the other person to be open to it. And if there isn't a power imbalance that dictates that they have to, they're going to withhold that openness if you're not showing it as well.
means it's hard to come across as open. When we care passionately about something, it becomes hard to see things from other points of view. The more we care, the harder it becomes.
So then I spackled and caulked the window jambs and put another coat of exterior latex paint. And then we started putting the glass in. Now the lead came, the lead came, and it was the wrong size. So I was kind of aggravated. So I'm just gonna, instead of waiting on a reorder, I'm just putting the glass like a 1/16 of an inch apart, and they're good factory edges, and I'm just gonna put silicone in the crack. And I think that's going to be fine. So I've got a big thick bead of latex, a better grade of latex, the stuff that dries clear, around the perimeter, and I squashed the glass into that latex caulk, and I put some little wood blocks just to keep the window from falling out until the caulk gets a little set. And I bent the nails, but eventually I got the thing in there without breaking the glass. So each window jamb gets a big piece of glass in the middle and 2 little pieces of glass on the edges. And it all fit. I didn't have any redos. I didn't have any boo-boos. It was kind of cool. It was kind of an adventure in cutting glass that I've never had. And I think it's going to be good. It's going to be smoother on the inside, so it's going to be easier to keep clean than the little multi-window panes, although knowing me, I'll probably never clean it. But the glass is in the hole on all 5 frames. Okay, that's it. I've got a little bitty crack along here, about a 1/16, and I'll caulk that with silicone caulk when everything else is finished. This is just a clear latex caulk, just a better grade of latex caulk. And my little blocks are going to hold it in until the caulk kind of sets, and I'm going to put a trim on the outside, which I'm going to cut in a little while. So that's how we're doing the glass. I think they came out pretty good. They're really dirty, but we'll clean them up. Yeah, so I'm liking this. Okay, so 15 pieces of glass installed, and I didn't break any of them. Amazing. I didn't drop any of them or anything. They are ready to be cleaned, and the joint caulk with silicone caulk, but they're pretty dirty right now. Well, folks, I feel like I'm a little screwed. Got the glass clean, and I'm ready to caulk the cracks. And I have the silicone, but it's too cold. It's in the 30s, so can't do that. I got one more piece of trim already cut for this sliding door, but I'm out of screws and I can't drive my truck. And I've got a lot of material to make all the rest of the trim, but again, I can't drive my truck. And I would like to put this electrical stuff in the wall, but I don't have the materials. And I can't drive my truck. I can't use the table saw. Why? Well, I had a bad case of sciatica, a nerve in my back. And this is week 3, and I've been pretty crippled, and I'm on opiates, whatever they're called. And instructions say do not operate machinery while under this drug. And usually I ignore that crap, but the last time I was on medicine, I managed to stick my finger in the table saw blade, and I hadn't done that in my life. I've never cut myself with a power tool. So my wife is enforcing that rule. So I was wanting to finish something before I completed this video, but it might be a while, so I'm going to wrap up this video. I can pull the rest of the siding off. I can do that. I have to climb a ladder, but maybe nobody will catch me. And more progress on the next video when I get better.